Right, what have we got today? Well, it's a large box today, and it's from one of my favourite companies on the road. Although I say favourite companies, at the minute I don't seem to be able to get to their website, so I don't know whether they've got a little bit of server downtime or they've been hauled up in front of court by Olight, because the lights have a stunning similarity to a lot of Olight models, but I'm not going to go into that. You can use your own imagination on that. Anyway, this is the On the Road U18, which is a larger flashlight. If you know from watching a lot of my videos, I sometimes EDC the On the Road M3 or the M3 Pro. The Pro is very similar to this, but it has a USB charging functionality. I mean, this is a smaller flashlight, as you can see in the hand there, but it's very, very good for the price. I've only got a lot of good things to say, but obviously this uses the very small CR123 batteries, or the 16340, which is very similar, but excellent light, magnetic base, nice deep carry clip, and an orange peel reflector. So got nothing but good things to say about them. But this is the U18, which is larger, and it's using the larger battery, which is the 18650. So let's get in the box and have a look, and I'll go through some of the specs. So let's see what you get in here. So there's a user manual. What else do you get in here? Now, they tend to hide things under these flaps. So what's under here? Right, so you get a USB cable, that's to charge it. And then this must be the light in almost like a nylon-y, strange neoprene cover. So fair enough. And then I always laugh at this. Here there are accessories. It's a bit like something a pirate would say, "Why there be accessories here?"
Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate. You're our favorite indeed.
So that's nice to see. X marks the spot. Now that's fantastic. They even give you a battery, which is nice to see. So the battery that they give you, it's not the largest capacity. It's a 2600 milliamp hours, 18650. Nice to see. You're getting a free battery. You can't say fairer than that. And a lot of the run times, they are basing off a 2600 milliamp hour battery, but I will be testing it just to keep it in line with what the other stuff I do with a Samsung 30Q, which is a good run-of-the-mill battery. Yeah, there's ones with a little bit more capacity or a little bit more amperage, but I think this gives a good output, and they've been highly reliable for me, so I'm going to test it out with that. But it's nice to see you get a free battery. So let's take everything out. Right, so that's everything out of the box. So boosh, drop kick that into the bin. And we'll take this out. So this is using the Cree XP-L. I think this is the V6 because it's the white light. So there's the unit there, pretty light. I mean, it's slightly head heavy because you've got this enlarged section. Now, the reason you have this enlarged section isn't just so they can add heat sinks. It's so you can have this charging port here. But we will go over that. I want to tell you a little bit more about it as I put the battery in. So I'll open this up to get the battery in. So let's have a look. So you've got, I mean, you can't open this section, but you can open the very top section if you want to get to the head here. I don't want to on this review. I want to stick to the basics. So this is sealed here, and you have the clip already fitted. It's certainly not what you would call deep carry, because if you imagine this goes in your pocket and this is the top of your pocket here, you're still going to have this as the protruding section here. So it's not like the M3 where it's a deep carry. It goes right to the top. But okay, that's fair enough. I'm not going to take off marks for that. And as you can see, it's very similar, the tube design, to the Olights, these S2 here. This is the S2 Baton. There is a newer version of this, but if you see, they seem to draw design aesthetics from the Olights. I mean, you could argue it's slightly different. Yeah, okay, it's slightly different because they've got this extra section, but there are certain similarities there. But it's got the same sort of thin aesthetics, which I like about Olights. So we'll have a look here. So here's your machine section. They've got nice threads on there, nicely milled there. They've got a little bit of grease on there, but not too much. And there's your O-ring. Now the point of this O-ring is to keep a bit of waterproofing, so water can't get in if you drop this in water. So let's have a look here. So here's your spring, very similar. In fact, I'll compare it to the Olight. So if I take the bottom off this Olight, you can see very, very, very similar design. So this is the Olight on the right, and this is the On the Road on the left. So almost identical. Very interesting to see that. So fair enough. And there should be a magnet in here. just check. So I've got a knife here, so there you go. So as you can see, any metallic surface, bang, it will connect to, which I sometimes use on the Skill Hunt HO3 when I'm doing stuff in and around on the car or in the garage and things like that. So it's nice to see. So we'll stick in the 30Q because I like to keep the testing all the same with the same battery, although you do get that free, so that's nice to see. So I'll put that to one side. So we'll pop that in, and then while I'm doing that, I will have a look at this. So what else you get? You get a couple of free O-rings, which is nice to see. Very standard with most Chinese manufacturers to give you 2 free O-rings. Reason being is you can replace this. You probably think, why do I need to replace these? Well, sometimes what happens is if these aren't seated correctly and you quickly put this on, you can shred that. So, and they do perish over time if you refuse to put gel on and things like that. But generally you shouldn't need those, but it's nice to see them included because some of the posh manufacturers don't even bother to include them. So put that to one side. User manual. Now, as you know, I tend to memorize these within seconds, like Charles Xavier on X-Men, so we'll go through them. Intelligent tips, battery replacement, wonderful. So I will show you, if you want to slow this down and read it, you can. So there's all the information there. Blah-de-blah-de-blah, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Right, that's that memorized, I know what I'm doing. And here is your charging cable. Now it is the micro USB type, so you can see that it's not the newer type C, which I prefer. I'm not going to go over why I prefer that, but you can put this in any way up when it's type C, but this type has to go in the right way up, which I find a nuisance, and I prefer the type C because everything else I own is type C. I don't want to carry another cable, but I know some subscribers get annoyed when I say that. So let's just check that that works now. Already plugged in, I do have this is a Nightcore brand micro USB, so let's see if this charges. So here's a charging flap here. So you open this up and then you pop this in, so top to the bottom there. Then what happens is the button will illuminate red, so I'll turn that off so you see what it looks like normally. So there's normal, and then when you plug it in, if I can get the damn thing to plug in, there you get it illuminates red. Now when this is fully charged, that changes from red and this side and it turns blue, so a solid blue, no blinking or anything like that. So very, very handy feature to have this. It just means you don't have to have a charger, or if you're away and you're using a power bank or charging from your car or whatever, you can just take a cable and plug it in. But I would still prefer it to be type C, but it's not the end of the world. It certainly still works. The only problem I have with some of these charging techniques is you've got this daft flap here. Now, yes, watch, when you put this in, okay, that's fair enough. That's not going to come out in normal use. But the problem is they're claiming that this is an IPX8. Now, IPX8 means you should be able to put that in up to 2 meters of water over it, okay, for at least 2 hours, and there'll be no ingress of water into the mechanisms. I think that's possibly not true. Am I calling on the road liars? No. What I'm saying is, in my opinion, I'm very doubtful of that, because I just find that highly doubtful. In order to have, that's probably IPX6, IPX7 at best, even if that's a perfect fit. I just can't see that protecting against water, especially if it's banged around. I prefer an IPX8. It just means you don't have to worry if you drop it in a river when you're camping or something, because it does happen. I've done it myself. I've dropped it in puddles and you have silly accidents, especially because I don't like using lanyards and things like that. I prefer to have IPX8. It means it's definitely going to work. I've taken this up in the hills before where I've been absolutely soaked for 2 to 3 hours in a row. I've come down, I've taken this out of a pocket and it's been saturated with water on the outside, but because this is relatively good, it doesn't have any major points of ingress for water. It just had condensation here and it still functioned, whereas I'll be a little bit hesitant to say that that's going to do the same. But okay, they're saying it's IPX8, fair enough. One of the other things that they're saying they're saying that this has an impact rating of 2 meters. So what's an impact rating? Well, if you were to drop that, according to the manufacturer, if you were to drop that from up to 2 meters from the ground onto some concrete, it should still work. Now, bear in mind that this might work, but it could damage the cell. So just bear that in mind. There is a possibility that you can damage the cell, but the actual item itself should still work. So that's quite a high rating. A lot of even the quite expensive ones only have a drop rating of 1.5 meters. So 2 meters is pretty good, but it is pretty solid. And if you see, you've got this lip where even if you drop this face down, it's probably not going to smash the glass here, which is nice to see. So we'll go over some of the specs before I show you how this works. And I'll quickly show you this. This is your lanyard. You can attach this to the very small and fiddly hole here. Look at the size of that. Imagine trying to thread that through after you've had 2 pints of whiskey. Not going to happen, but it's there if you want it, and it means you can put that around your wrist. I don't use them, but there are people who swear by them, and I understand why. So pretty good. It's like a double walled. It's similar to the Olight. It looks like someone's granny's knitted on the road there, which is nice to see if you're into home embroidery or something like that. Feels okay. Let's just check it doesn't fall to bits. I'm pulling that with full force. No, that's fine. No problems there. And there's your cinch, which has a section where you can move it there. So nice to see. So pop that to one side. And you do get this. I never use these because if, as they claim, this is IPX8, why do I need this? Unless they think that paint's going to come off. Well, it shouldn't be coming off, but that's there if you want it. That's the sort of thing that some people like to use. I never use these. I just chuck them out. So let's get a shot of that. Okay, so let's go through some of these specs. So like I say, Cree XBL, which is a decent LED, you're going to get around 1,000 lumen output, although you never actually get the full amount. Especially on a lot of these Chinese things, there are inefficiencies in the circuit, and what happens is by the time the energy then gets out, you never get the full amount, but we'll go over that anyway and what they claim. It does have a secondary function in, you do have this red when it's charging and then it goes blue when it's full, but also if you have a battery in here which is low, if there's less than, it's around 10% of the battery left, this will be red. So that's a warning. You see that and you think, oh, there's about 10% of the battery left, I need to charge that. If you let it go any further and there's about 5% left, it will flash. In other words, to say you need to hurry up and charge this, otherwise you're going to start damaging the cell by draining it too much. Nice little sort of feature to have. So let's go through how you work this. So unlike a lot of flashlights, instead of just pressing the button to use it, you have to press and hold. Now, I've read a lot on forums where people complain, say, I don't like press and hold. I don't mind press and hold. I'll tell you why. If this doesn't have an E-lockout, I don't want the ability to knock that. So if let's say you knock that in your bag watch, nothing happens. Or if you knock it in your pocket, nothing happens. In order to make this function, you have to press and hold momentarily. So there. Is that really the end of the world? And I understand a lot of people say, I don't like that. It's cheap and I don't like it. Fair enough, but those same people might be the same people who say, why hasn't it got an E-lockout? Well, it hasn't, because it's got that feature where you press and hold. That's just my personal thoughts on it. I prefer that, but maybe it's to what you call a muggle, in other words, a non-flashaholic that might press it and say, it doesn't work, and take it back to the shop. Fair enough, I understand that part of the argument also. So let's go through some of the modes. So if you turn this on, you get what they term as ultra low. Now that's 3 lumens. They're quoting that on the battery that they give you anyway, which is a 2,600 milliamp hour battery. On their battery, they're quoting that on this 3 lumen mode, you should get about 340 hours. Pretty good, especially good in camps and hanging up in camp and things like that. If you hang that up in a tent, that's brilliant. I would just leave that on all night. And it means if you do get up for a pee, you're able to find the zip and things like that to get out. So a nice little feature. Also, low lumen modes are great for reading maps in darkness and then not ruining night vision. Unfortunately, because this is about 3 lumen, that will slightly ruin night vision. I would have preferred to have seen 1 lumen, especially with this sort of reflector. I would have preferred to have seen 1 lumen for what they term ultra low, because that's certainly not ultra low. That's low, but it's not ultra low, but okay. So 3 lumens on ultra low. To go to the next mode, you just press the button. So the next button is low, 160 lumens. Now they're quoting about 11 hours runtime. That's fantastic, pretty nice. As you can see, because the reflector, you've got a little bit of a hot spot there, but it's evened out because it's an OP reflector, which I'll go through in a minute. Pretty nice to see. So 11 hours. Next mode they quote, they call that medium, so that's 350 lumens. They're saying you get about 4.5 hours on the battery that they give you. Pretty nice, excellent work. You can get, I would argue, and I always have, about 280 to 350 is a range where you can get most of your work done, especially indoors, in rooms, is up close anyway. You don't need much more than that. Next mode is high. So that's around 900 lumens. They're saying you get around 2 hours, 2 hours, 10 minutes from that, which is nice. And the heat's starting to accumulate there, I can feel, but not too bad. And then there's an extra mode up from that. If you double click, very slight difference there, you might have noticed. They're saying that's turbo and you get about 1900 lumens. I doubt that. Are they lying? Don't know. I would say that feels about 900 at best, but okay, that's fair enough. So we'll turn that down just for a second. In fact, I'll leave it on that mode because I want to see what the temperature comes up as. So if you bear with me a few seconds, there it is. I've got my trusty temperature probe. So what they're saying is this has a heat step down mechanism. In other words, if you run this at turbo, which is what I'm doing, there comes a point when it says, okay, that's getting too hot and I'm going to step down. So you're not going to maintain that for very long. It gets to a certain temperature, then steps down. So let's see what temperature we have at present. So at the moment we have about 32 degrees, so we'll see if that goes up. That's not bad for a turbo, but bear in mind it's probably not outputting the 1090 lumens that they're claiming. You're looking at about 900, I would say. So we'll leave that running just for a bit, but depending on ambient temperature is going to depend on how long you get out of these things, because in a cooled atmosphere you're going to heat up less. In a hot atmosphere it's already going to be hot as it is. So let's see what the temperature is now. So temperature at the moment is heading up towards 40 degrees. I'm guessing probably around 40 degrees internal. It's going to start stepping down. So let's see what happens here. It's still going. So it's hovering around. Doesn't seem to want to reach 40. There's 40. So no step down I've noticed yet. Anyway, 42. Still going. 43. Now bear in mind the temperature I'm reading here is from the outside surface. Internally is going to be slightly higher because it takes time for heat to migrate to the surface anyway. So it still doesn't seem to have stepped down, even though we're at nearly 43 degrees here with an ambient of about 25. So pretty good. So maybe it's about 45 to 50 degrees. Some of them are, but I can't seem to get this to step down. Okay, so nice to see. So we'll turn that off and I'll just tell you about what I feel heat wise. So in the handle, that's manageable. Here, no, not so manageable. You wouldn't want to hold that. It's certainly not up to the MSRD 4 levels of heat, but it's enough where you would want to take your hand away. But the handle's still absolutely fine. Okay, so there's another mode. So to get to the other mode, all you do is triple click, and you're straight to strobe. So we'll put that down because I don't want to annoy people with epilepsy. So there's your strobe. Now they're quoting that you get about, runs at about 900 lumens ish. That's probably more about 750, but you get about 4 hours runtime on that. So within this strobe, you also have ways of going to the next level. So you've got, so there's your strobe. So I'll turn that off just momentarily. So for strobe, just triple click. So 1, 2, 3. There's your strobe. Now within here, you can go through the different modes. So your first mode is strobe, and then one click takes it to the next strobe, which is a location beacon. Now, most people wouldn't have a use for that. I can see uses for that. Certainly military applications, just positioning in general, where you can leave that somewhere and it works like a locator beacon. People at a distance can easily see that as long as that's facing in their direction anyway. Also within that strobe cycles, you also have an SOS mode. So click it again, and then it flashes out the internationally recognized Morse code for SOS. So you can see it flashing out there. And then you can go back to the first mode again. So you're just cycling through those 3 modes: location beacon, SOS, strobe, long hold, straight back to normal. So all in all, pretty damn good. I'm quite impressed. I'm highly doubtful of the claims of RPX 8, but okay, a lot of these Chinese manufacturers seem to test their luck with what the claims they can make, and I don't think you're getting 1900 lumens. You're certainly getting a nice lumen count, but I don't think it's as high as they're claiming. I like how rugged it is. I appreciate the 2 meter drop rating. So all in all, pretty good. I would have preferred this to go up higher and be a deep carry, or be reversible somehow, and I don't know, and have tip down carry or something like that, but it's not the end of the world. You're getting a free battery. I like it. I also like the feature of the built-in charging and the fact that this flashes when the battery's low. All fantastic features. Now if you notice, this is an orange Pluto reflector, so I'll quickly go over this, and for those who don't care about this, if you just fast forward until you don't see this anymore. So for anyone mad enough to still be with me at this moment, what I'll do is I'll quickly go over the different reflector types, because it's worth noting for people who don't know. So normally you have your circuit board there with your LED on, and light just fires out. You have a little dome over the LED, and light just fires out pretty willy-nilly, and it just goes all over the shop. You don't really have a lot of control over it. So one method of controlling that is to put if this is a side view, you have a little smooth reflector. So an example of a smooth reflector would be on the Zanflare F1. So you can see the LED in the middle there, and you see the smooth reflector going around. It's like a little silver bowl. So what's happening there? Well, the light comes out from the LED, which is your spill, hits the wall, but then this also bounces and reflects and trains light in a certain manner. So it focuses it. So I'll show you that. So if I turn this Zanflare on and turn it up to a sensible level where you can actually see what's going on. So as you can see, what's happening here is there's your spill, and then here's your spot in the middle. So the good thing about this is this section here will fire across a field. This gives you distance. The only problem is up close, look, it ruins detail. It completely obscures detail. It's useless. Now the only way around that is to either pull the light away until that's not an issue, or reduce the level right down so you can see through it. But really, a smooth reflector is designed to fire light and try to make it travel a distance. So this is what the beam profile looks like. So your other option is to use an orange peel reflector, which is what they've done here. So if we turn this on, there you go. You can see there's still a spill, which is this bit here. But have you noticed the spot is less obscuring detail? It certainly does obscure detail, but slightly less. Even though I've got this on the maximum setting there, you can still read a little bit of that. And you notice that the transition between the spot and the spill is slightly better. In other words, what's happening is, instead of having a smooth reflector, it's bumped. It's not smooth. So I'll show you up close. So the reason they call this orange peel is because it's almost like the skin of an orange. You see how it's all bumped there? It's certainly not perfectly smooth. And what happens is it transitions the spill and the spot. So what's happening is, instead of getting this on the wall, you get more of this. There's a transition between the two zones, really. You're trying to get the best of both worlds. You're trying to see, I don't want it to obscure detail too much up close, but I still want a little bit of push. And the far end of the scale for that is to use a TIR. Here's an example of a TIR, where you use a piece of plastic rather than an empty space in the reflector. What you're doing is you're trying to smooth it out. In fact, I'll show you a better example. Far end of the scale here, Claris Mini 1. If you look at that, there's a very small gap. So what they've actually done here is, there's your LED, and then over the top, you just place this lens. Now they call it a TIR, total internal reflection. In other words, the light's bounced around inside, and it leaves however you dictate on the design. So for example, the design of this one is it's almost like faceted like a bug's eye. So what happens there? So up close, it's fantastic. Even at its fullest setting, look, it's very difficult to see the zones. In other words, the spill and spot melt into each other. It's got a beautiful, it's almost a all transition. There's a slight hot spot in the middle there, which is to be expected, but it's perfect up close. So if you're working on a circuit board or something up close, this is fantastic. It doesn't obscure anything. Look, I'm putting that over the TrailTrek there, and it's not obscuring a thing, which is fantastic. But obviously the downside of this is it's useless for traveling distance. You're not going to fire that across a field. So in my honest opinion, I would say that this is the middle of the road. It's not going to get you maximum distance, but it's also not going to obscure detail too much. It's like a middle of the road sort of thing. So I want to give this a mark, and I want to also look at some other alternatives. So let's give this a mark first. I'm going to give this, it's rugged. I don't think it's IPX8, which is a shame. It hasn't got Type C USB, but it's not the end of the world. It's got a nice output, it's got turbo, it's got a couple of 3 strobe modes, it's got a low battery warning, you get a free battery. It's quite a beautiful design. It's not too heavy. I really like it. For the price, I think it's highly worth it for the pack that you're getting. So marks out of 10 wise, I'm going to give this, do you know what, I'm going to have to give it an 8, because there's very little I can complain about, other than maybe that gap's a little bit too small. Fair enough, not IPX8. Not the end of the world though. I'm probably only one of the sort of many people who will whinge about that. This could be a little bit better for deep carry, but hey, it's not the end of the world. Nice and rugged, 8 out of 10. But I want to show you some of the other options. So one of the first option that comes to mind is the S2 baton by Olight. But the price of this is massive. You can get 2 or 3 of these for the price of one of these. Sometimes the prices on Olight make me laugh, but this is using a TIR type lens. So as you can see, it's not too bad, but you're not going to get a lot of distance. You probably get more distance out of this. So I'll turn that off. So there's just one of your options, and as you can see, not much bigger, even though this has got USB charging and this certainly doesn't, but they use the same battery. So put that to one side. Another option if you wanted a smooth reflector and a USB charging. I'll show you if I can get it open. There's a secret USB charging function on this Zanflare F1. There it is. So follow the arrow there. So that also has a micro USB charging capability. So nice to see. And then screw that back. This is a tail clicker and a side switch. In other words, that turns it on and off, and then that changes the modes. The only problem is it's a smooth reflector and you get a nice bit of distance, but look at the height difference. Absolutely massive. Now understand that you lose, well, I'm saying you increase a lot of the length by adding a tail clicker. That's one issue with that. And with a deep smooth reflector, you need to increase distance again. So I'll forgive them a little bit, but that's a massive difference in height. So unless you've got huge pockets or you're a giant, you might not want to go for that. So another option would be the classic, the Convoy S2 Plus, which for the price, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. You're getting about 800 to 900 lumens, similar to the U18, but beautiful. It's an orange peel reflector also, pretty rugged. It's got a nice lip there. It's even got a glow-in-the-dark gasket, if I remember rightly. So if I hold that down and turn it up to a high setting, it should glow a little bit. Yeah, that one does. So beautiful to see. They're very cheap, very reliable. Never had a problem with that, and it's a tail clicker, which I like, whereas this one isn't. But the problem is you don't get USB charging on this. Not the end of the world if you've already got a charger though. Another option if you want to go for the mega bucks is the Olight M2, I never remember the name of this, M2T Warrior. You're getting way over 1,000 lumens on this, as you can see, very, very bright. And this uses a orange peel reflector again, beautiful. It's got one of these attack bezels, as they call it, which is ridiculous. You're certainly not going to want to attack anyone with that. Nice clip, but again, not really deep carry, kind of reversible. And like the Zanflare, it has the clicky on the tail, but it also has the levels that can be adjusted here. This also has an e-lockout, but you're paying big bucks for this. Very expensive, unfortunately, but you're getting way over 1,000 output from 18650. Another option, which I would highly recommend, is the BLF A6. This is the second edition, which is beautiful, way over 1,000 lumens again, loads of modes, tail clicker, doesn't have charging, but I really like this. I wish they would redo the this clip maybe, but okay, it does the job. This is one of the ones I recommend for presents and things like that because it's so good. Never had any problems with that. I like that light. Couple of other options. You've got the EDC C4 by Fullermoff. Very, very short if you look. They both got charging, but slightly shorter than this. And it has a smooth reflector. So if you prefer smooth reflectors, you might want to go for this. This does actually do a decent job. Although I'm an orange peel reflector guy, I will note that this has a lovely beam profile and walls. I'm always surprised by that. And then this has charging under a daft little flap as well. So nice to see. You can also use this as a power bank. It'll turn juice the other way. So rather than just charge, it'll let you use this as a power bank, which is a lovely feature. Handy to have. Then another couple of options, TIR wise, would be to get something like the MSR D4. If you really want a hot rod that just blows everything away. So you can see the sort of brightness level there, absolutely massive, but this heats up rather quick. But you don't have to run it to that level, and that's using a quad emitter, so 4 LEDs on a TIR setup there. So pretty good, but you're going to pay a little bit more than the U18. Your other option would be to get something like the DQG Tiny 18650. This is the 4th edition. You can see the little 4 there. Does a pretty good job, pretty small, but no USB charging. And I was a bit underwhelmed by the workmanship, put it that way. It feels like a prototype. So there's just some other options, because I like to give you different options rather than just tell you about the light in question. So let's get rid of them and you've probably had enough of me waffling for one day, so let's get outside and I'll show you some beam shots.